Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, The Spirit of Slovenian Mobility. This is a series of 5 topics, and first one was urban air mobility, second one was the high-end and high-tech, and today's one is mobility as a service. My name is Daniel Audagic, and I will be your today's host and moderator. And AV Living Lab is basically partnering with the agency Spirit, who is the main organizer of this webinar. So today's topic is mobility as a service. And if we look why mobility as a service is the next disruption in automotive mobility space, we have to look into 2 trends. First trend is, of course, rapid urbanization. So what it's clearly is that in 50s, only 740 million people were living in the cities, while today we have more than 4 billion, and it is growing to close to up to 7 billion by 2050. And if we show this visual perspective even further, we can see that urbanization is basically exponentially growing, which means more pressure on cities, how to manage space, infrastructure, resources, and clearly moving from ownership to sharing, moving from using single occupancy vehicle from going A to B to shared, hopefully soon autonomous and electric, so meaning sustainable mobility, will contribute to zero accident society, sustainable mobility, which is good for our planet, and also better management of resources. And clearly, we could, be giving more parking space back to us citizens in the cities. So next trend, which is also showing this exponential growth, is the rise of megacities. So megacities are cities with population larger than 10 million people. And in 50s, we had only 2 megacities, which were Tokyo and New York. Today, more than 34 megacities and growing to 50. So what will happen later on, and this is an estimation in 2100, is that a lot of fastest and the biggest and the larger cities will be in the emerging market. So clearly there is a need for better solution and new choice, and we would like to present you our Slovenian landscape or ecosystem of the key mobility as a service providers, developers. And today you will hear an inspiring and very insightful presentations from AVANT CAR, GoGiro, GoOpti, Nomago, Automotive Association of Slovenia, AMZS, and they will deliver a short keynote presentation. And after the short keynote presentation, there will be a round table where you are kindly invited to ask questions and contribute to the conversation. But before we start with keynotes, I would like to give the word to our main organizer, the Spirit of Slovenia, to Mr. Vid Habjan, who is the head of Foreign Direct Investment Promotion Department at Spirit of Slovenia.
Thank you, Daniel. Dear ladies and gentlemen, good day to all of you. I'm honored to welcome you today on the 3rd in a series of 5 mobility events, the Spirit of Slovenia Mobility. Spirit Slovenia is a Slovenian government's business development agency, which is a single contact point for potential investors or international companies looking for new business opportunities in our country. Our today focus will be on Slovenian companies, which are among the best mobility as a service. Daniel already mentioned them. As I read yesterday, according to Eurobarometer, 93% of Europeans agree that climate change is a serious problem. And 1/3 of Europeans are using eco-friendly alternatives to the car, such as walking, cycling, taking public transport or car sharing, to reduce CO2 emissions. With the rapid digitalization of mobility, this is a great opportunity for new players to become mobility as a service provider. and to offer greener transport to everyone. As you will see in presentations and discussion, Slovenia is a perfect ecosystem for mobility as a service providers, from cities and to dispersed settlements. With developed physical and digital infrastructure, Slovenia is ideal country as a lab to test new urban and rural mobility solutions. With highly educated people, almost 50% of our young people are studying and researching at our globally recognized universities. And with the most artificial intelligence researchers per capita in European Union, our companies are developing top mobility solutions. Besides that, our territory was an important intersection of roads already a few millennia ago. We have always been among the first to adopt new mobility solutions, from trains in the middle of 19th century, mobile payment of public transport 2 decades ago, to the first certified electric airplane last year. Even today, Slovenia is a major hub for logistic and passenger mobility, which are important accelerators of our economy and constantly bringing new mobility and logistic solutions to the world. In Slovenia, we are focusing on green technologies and with the creative talent of our workforce, delivering smart solutions. I would like to invite you all to contact us if you have any questions or queries. We would be really happy to assist you. And I would also like to invite you to Slovenia and get to know our potential. But now let us hear breakthrough solutions from these 5 of our Slovenian companies and their vision of the future in mobility as a service. Thank you. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Habjan, for your kind words. And as you mentioned, Slovenia being as a country, as a lab, I need to say that our next speaker, who is Mr. Matej Čer from AVANT CAR, he started, very, very early with only electric shared mobility. So it was basically station-based car sharing solution. So it would be really honor now to hear again where they are heading, because last 5 years for them are amazing. So it's great to see where they will be for next 5 years. So Matej, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Hello, everybody. It's great to be a guest in such a important and trendy event as we have today, and I will try to do my best to share with you in a few minutes about our project and activity with it and where we are heading to. So let me start with the name. My name is Matej Čer. As Daniel mentioned, AVANT CAR is our company, and what we do, actually, we are developing and providing mobility as a service solutions in the region of, at the moment, in the region of Slovenia, Croatia, and North Macedonia, and hopefully soon wider in Europe as well. Let's start with company profile. So we see us as a leading regional provider for mobility as a service with vast experience in different programs. We did more than probably on close to 15 million kilometers in last 8-9 years, with more than 500 electric vehicles at the moment. Among them, more than 100 Tesla Model S, 3, and X. So we are on the market already 18 years. With more than 100 employees, and the services we provide are not only electric mobility infrastructure and car sharing, but as well full service leasing with the fleet management for the companies, and delivery and classic rental services. We operate with more than 3,000 vehicles at the moment. We're almost close to 20% or 100% electric in the region I already mentioned before. Our, let's say, pilot computing product is digitalized 100% electric smart way of how to use transport assets in order to provide this innovative mobility. Is a on-to-go system, which at the moment offer to the market car sharing services, 100% electric delivery, and as well slowly keyless rental for short-term rental needs. Actually, mobile app is the key to the hundreds of cars, and in the other side, our customers actually don't have any care and need to charge, clean, register, whatever, do as they need to do with owned cars, but they only drive when they need, and they only pay for what they must. Yeah. So I would ask next slide. Products and key AVANT CAR action areas are from products I already mentioned: sharing, delivery, fleet management, rental, and on the other side as well, we needed to work in areas like education, mind shifting, and development, from business models to research and development regarding technology. So we established 8 years ago, we established R&D team. Next slide, please. Which had the goal to really understand the new technology opportunities and where the world is moving, in order to be able and the changes in the society, in order to be able to create solutions based on new infrastructure and technology and business models to help human development in the way of higher quality of life. And as we know, the sustainable approach is the only way to act in new economy. Next slide, please. So first, we needed to understand the key problems we have in mobility sector, from emissions, low utilization. We know that more than 95% of time vehicles are parked, and they're taking space in the urban areas, even more in the region like Slovenia, Croatia. 50% of monthly income goes to these assets, which are 95% non-utilized. We don't have fuel, oil in the region. We need to import it, so we are dependent on import, and we cannot control the price and the volume we can get. Nowadays, we know what does it mean if the borders are closed. Everything can stop in the moment. And as well, technology. Yesterday, we didn't have connected vehicles, so we weren't able to see clear and to act fast enough and to optimize utilization of the asset. Next slide, please. So our actions toward regarding these problems, toward solution, went first into implementing mobility as a service technologies using IoT, where we connected the vehicles and built our own infrastructure. We developed different business models and mobility products, and as well we try to do as much as possible in order to help transition to 100% electric, and we decided to put in our new fleets on electric cars. So the new challenges as well were on the market without the infrastructure and without knowing how they will behave and how the customers at the end will be able to use them to have the same commodity as before. So we face many challenges, but all the solutions were oriented toward solving these challenges. Yeah? Next slide, please. So our solution is based on simplicity, and mobile app which we developed had to be really very friendly and simple for end users. In one mobile app, we integrated car sharing system, car rental, and as well delivery. Next slide, please. AVANT AVANT car sharing is 24/7 app-based self-service, which already operate 5 years now in the market. We transport vehicles, as I mentioned, rent a car and delivery. I already mentioned in previous slide. Next slide, please. In order to support this transition and acquisition of new modern green customers, for sure we needed to act a lot in the field of education and accelerating mind shift and building awareness on the market. So we had more than 500 public lectures, attending conferences, presentations in the last 5 years, really to accelerate this mind shift. Next slide, please. Then we built several showrooms where people could approach and talk to our consultants and get some ideas, understandings. What does it mean, electric car? What does it mean, mobility as a service? How they can use it? We have this kind of showroom in Zagreb, in main business area in Dubrovnik, and as well in Ljubljana. Next slide, please. Then we deployed and built that infrastructure in one of the new, very modern, energy efficient building in Ljubljana with solar power plant on the roof. Then in the garage we have 40 charging stations and storage, battery storage. So our team, we produce around 200 energy for 200 electric kilometers a day. So our team, who is driving on electric cars in Ljubljana for their logistic needs, can actually drive on the sun over the head, and as well the residents in this building, when they bought the apartments, they got free 40 hours of car sharing. So they had choice to decide to enter without own car, just using the communities kind of community infrastructure service in the house, and drive on the sun as well from the roof. Yeah. This is the second kind of show. Then next step, the next slide, please. Charging infrastructure in order to be able to build business models fast enough. We weren't able to rely on existing infrastructure, but we needed to do it by ourselves. So we start more than 200 chargers by ourselves, and that's the way how. So that's the reason why we decided for station-based car sharing, so we could control the energy for the cars and provide 24/7 service to our customers. Next. This is the solar on the roof. Yeah, next one. I already showed the slide before. So, and for the end, I would maybe go a bit deeply in AVANT CAR project. With at the end, probably will be the overall the main mobility service lead, and all the other services will go under this brand. So the project is based on road experience we gathered as a mobility service provider in last years, and was 24/7 app-based, as already mentioned, pay-per-use, state-of-the-art electric vehicles, any rental period. We put the location on main spots from shopping centers, residential areas, city center, airport. We connected airport with the city as well. And what is most important, you always find the free parking, and you always find the car on the place where you know you can get it. Yeah. Next slide, please. We started with car sharing 2016. When Ljubljana was a green capital, and it was kind of let's say common activity which support actually this brand, and till today. Next slide, please. Till today. We had exponential growth. Even we grew even last year when lots of months the economy was in low mode. We have at the moment more than 300 vehicles, 120 locations, 5 different models, car models in the fleet. We operate in 6 cities, 3 countries, and we have, as already mentioned, we did more than 500 lectures, courses, and reaching almost 20,000 registered users. Among our users are more than 200 companies, 8 ministries, faculties, municipalities. Next slide, please. So we are spreading in the other cities as well soon. Slovenia, Croatia, and the region. Next slide. Slide, please. As I mentioned, 5 different cars in the fleet. Next slide, please. Our key users are individuals, companies, education organizations, municipalities, ministries. Slovenia is one of the first countries where 100% electric cars from sharing system are used, works for public services as well. Next slide, please. From this 2016 till today, as I mentioned, we have exponential growth. Next slide, please. And at the end, as we passed 5 years, this June, end of May, we did a satisfaction survey with our customers, and what is most important for us, 95% of respondents would definitely or very likely recommend our service, and 9 of 10 rated highest level quality of service. So this is for us a good base for the future, and spreading this service and business models in the wider region. Next slide. That's from my side. Thank you very much, and let's talk later more.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, after all short keynotes, we will have a roundtable, and it will be very interesting to hear your thoughts and also engage with our dear audience. So the next speaker is Klemen Furlan, the CEO of GoGiro. So GoGiro is also an important player in mobility as a service landscape, starting from micromobility, but also, building the multimodal offering, moving to cars and other types of transportation. So Mr. Furlan, please share with us your presentation.
Thank you. So basically, just to give you an idea of what we do, we are a software development company that does only mobility solutions. We started with two-road type of car sharing 3 years ago. So it was peer-to-peer car sharing platform that is still in existence. It's a little bit ahead of time, but of course we see great traction. On the other hand, what we are last year most known for is offering micromobility with e-scooters and e-bikes. We are currently offering around 300, close to 300 units in Slovenian coast and in Ljubljana. Also some tourist municipalities like Bled. So in this last year, in regards to times that let's say at least half of the time we were kind of closed, we did more than 10,000 vehicle rentals, mostly in Ljubljana, with e-scooters. We are very proud of our successful collaboration with City of Ljubljana. Basically, we managed to organize a structure that can be replicated to even more vehicles. So we are using at this moment existing infrastructure, bike infrastructure, as a pit stop points as release areas for our vehicles. And we are very proud that we didn't have any issues like other cities had. We all know of e-scooters staying on the roads or being thrown in rivers or something like this. We together with the city managed to make a very sustainable way to actually offer this very environmentally friendly and futuristic type of transport that offers actually only A to B transport, so you don't have to worry about where to leave the e-scooter. We have great relationship also with insurance company called Zavarovalnica Triglav that also provides insurance for third-party damage or even injuries, and also we are able to actually insure these vehicles against theft. So we are proud of building sustainable business model that can be replicated in greater numbers. What I'm presenting today is a new gen of our GoGiro software, which is heavily based on geolocation options, which is one thing that is, I think, quite revolutionary. It's important to know that all our vehicles have IoT systems as a part of these vehicles, meaning a computer that is constantly in communication with servers, with network, and we are able this way to control the speeds, the stations, and different other options, even a range of our vehicles in this way. And what I'm presenting now is an application for hospitality businesses, meaning hotels, camps, marinas, municipalities in tourism, which are kind of afraid of offering micromobility options due to extra employees, heavy, very steep learning curve in order to start this type of business. We managed to make it as simple as possible. So I would please ask you for, okay. So for these hospitality businesses, we see a problem that once the guests in the morning after breakfast leave their hotels or other venues, they lose traction of revenues to their guests. They go around the city, they go for a lunch in different places, and they don't have a revenue stream anymore until they come back in the evening and start and go maybe for a dinner at best, and maybe then they go back to bed and maybe take a little snack from a mini bar. So our solution is to actually offer easy micromobility business that can be started without any new employees, and started maybe in a month or even less, with as low maintenance cost, as low involvement with these employees. Only reception workers can be enough, so no extra employees. Basically, if I go in history, how this free float e-bike and e-scooter sharing started, it is really new industry. It started now a little bit less than 4 years ago, and it made huge strides towards this time. Huge improvements have been made in area of quality of vehicles. We are proud to say that our vehicles, which are 1 year old, are really reliable. Happy to report that no serious accidents so far have been reported. We think that due to longer vehicle wheelbase and larger vehicles, these type of vehicles are not that prone to accidents. Small vehicles and short wheelbase are very very dangerous for drivers, which I guess we all heard about. Then the other thing, applications have made huge strides. So at this moment we can offer to customers, to our hospitality customers, virtual endpoints. So basically, if a customer has a hotel has only one stop, so let's say in front of hotel, we do this virtually. So we just put in the GPS coordinates, and we are setting up this virtual end and start point for this type of vehicles, meaning there is no need to actually pick up and collect these vehicles around the towns or cities, making it very easy to recharge and to service. Great deal has been done in making applications as easy as possible for users to start. So our goal is 30 seconds onboarding time from the time that a guest see the fleet in front of the hotel until he puts in his credit card and starts driving, which I think is very important. Industry in this area, in this segment, has done lots of improvements. Basically, we are following the biggest players in this area, like Line, Tier, Voi, and Bird. It's really important for applications to be as user-friendly as possible. Multi-rent options. So we are at this moment the only ones in this area that offers multiple vehicle rent. So a family of 4 can rent out from one account all 4 vehicles, which I think is very, very important for user friendliness. Of course, making it easy as possible for hotels to start business and to have all the payment options, different payment options available is quite important. So basically, what was the problem until now? This is, I'm proud to say, the only product in the world at this moment that is focused strictly into tourism. We think that there is a high interest. We see that there is a high interest of hospitality businesses to actually keep the revenue stream from their guests even after the guest leaves the hotel in the morning, and offering them a vehicle that has integrated product. So I will now move to one thing that we are doing with Tourism Ljubljana. We are doing a guided tours. It will be launched on 16th of August. And what we are doing is an integrated product of e-scooter rental together with navigation and visits of different known parts of Ljubljana, integrating Ljubljana tourist card, so offerings from Ljubljana tourist cards into the offering, and using navigation to bring them exactly through guided tour. Basically, we call this an add-on, a digital guide, which is the same cost for 1 or for 50 people. We all know that tourist guides cost money, and groups with less than 10 people until now could not afford or was not a sensible idea to actually have a tourist guide just for few people. So this is one thing that we're really proud of, and we are starting with this project on 16th of August to actually offer a free digitally guided tours that can incorporate other offerings. So we can incorporate some museum entrances, we can incorporate some food, beverage, hospitality into these units, and in this way hotels can prepare the packages for in their municipalities for different guests and their needs. I will just show you some examples, and then I will finish. So this is an example of Postojna, one of the most known tourism spot, beautiful caves, and also Predjama Castle. We are pitching at this moment to them this offering. So basically they have 1.3 million visitors yearly. Most of those are going to Postojna cave. However, they have many other tourist attractions, and they are not as visited as they could be. In this way, we are able to actually maximize the area for this hotspot. There are many other beautiful places that might not be available to guests on foot. It's just too long away. So we can see here that 5 kilometers away, or even 7.5 kilometers aerial distance away, you have much more beautiful landscapes that can be visited in this way using micromobility that can reach 25 kilometers per hour and make tourists spend less energy. So thank you for your attention, and glad to talk to you in conference later.
Thank you, Klemen, and I'm looking forward to the roundtable discussion, because having a niche in a tourism for micromobility, I think it's a nice opportunity which could be expanded also elsewhere outside Slovenia, internationally, globally. So now we are moving to the next speaker, who is Mr. Marko Guček, the CEO of GoOpti company. And the GoOpti company is our mobility as a service provider, mainly offering vans sharing, so shared mobility offering. So, Mr. Guček, please share with us your view, strategy, and vision.
My name is Marko Guček, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of GoOpti. GoOpti is a dynamic shuttle platform, bringing to passengers convenience of a car, which means shared door-to-door service at desired time for the price of a bus. Just a second. But before we go deeper in GoOpti, let's see what is ahead of all of us. In 2020, EU raised ambition to cut for 55% CO2 emissions below 1990 levels until 2030. On the graph, we see all sectors are more or less successful, but transportation is truly far away from the goals. And if we go now into details, we see majority of pollution is coming actually in transportation out of road transport, 72%. And from road transportation, personal car creates 60% of all emissions. And if we look on the right side of the slide, we see that electrical vehicles do not help much in this moment. It will take a lot of time to deploy enough electric vehicles and even more time to make electricity clean. The only possible solution to significantly reduce emissions in such short time is to reduce number of personal vehicles on the roads and increase usage of shared mobility alternatives. But for people to make that kind of shift, this means change of habits. And habits take a long time to change. And we believe that we can speed up this change if alternative experience would be similar to existing experience with personal car. And on the graph, we see there is one alternative actually missing. Taxis are too expensive for daily usage. Bus or train are not direct and nearby, nor have the frequency for a majority of movement needs, especially in medium-sized cities like Ljubljana. Bicycle, scooter, and walking are great on right distances and in the right weather conditions. Car sharing is not always so cheap and not always everywhere available when you need it. So in the end, if we look at all usage cases of average user, personal car still wins in convenience and affordability, which are two most deciding factors. So we see that we can change the mindset of users from car being our freedom to selection of alternatives being our freedom, and car actually being something you have issues with, like maintenance and parking and so on. So we just need to crack one more service, which should be door-to-door at more or less desired time as taxi, but cheaper. And here we believe GoOpti can help. We actually successfully convinced people to leave their cars at home and drive with us. 76% of our clients did so. Based on our average occupancy, we calculate that our passenger has in average 28 grams of emissions per kilometer, which is actually 70% less than if you drive with your own car, and even less than a lot of different public transportation services, which do not have so good average occupancy. So far, with over 2 million transported passengers, we reduced over 22,000 tons of CO2 emissions. So a bit of history. We started 10 years ago with connecting medium-sized cities in Slovenia, then North Italy and Croatia, with regional airports, which means not just the closest ones, but also more distant, between 1 and 3 hours away, where was usually no direct public transport connection. And GoOpti is actually a platform that with dynamic pricing and pooling algorithms makes possible for shuttle companies to operate profitably shared rides also on less traveled routes, and on the other side provides reliability to our passengers so that the service will be executed also if booked for very low price. And we offer alternative services for various passenger needs. Sometimes passengers choose our private service, which is like taxi, just cheaper, because we can fill up the vehicle in both directions and have less empty kilometers. We offer shared service where client defines departure time and other customers need to accept this time. If at this desired time maybe also direct bus exists, we can offer it also. And if nothing is available for good price, we offer also shared with flexibility window, where a client defines acceptable time scope of departure or arrival. And the results are truly happy customers. We have amazing NPS of 75, mostly because even clients that choose flexibility window in the end, due to our optimization algorithms, still get transported very close to their ideal time of departure. So the result is similar comfort as personal car for a truly low price. And on the other side of our marketplace, we have also successful franchisees whose turnover increased significantly in following years of joint cooperation. And let me finish with our vision. Municipality of Ljubljana set up a goal to reduce personal car rides by 20% until 2027. But they face a huge issue. There is over 120,000 daily commuters coming to Ljubljana from all around Slovenia, and majority with their cars alone. And to decrease number of those rides, we would need 1,000 vans all over Slovenia. They would be bringing daily commuters to Ljubljana in the morning and in the afternoon back. Some of them would be connecting their cities or villages also during the day for the needs of elderly and younger population, visiting maybe doctor, going shopping and other errands. And the rest of the vehicles would be in Ljubljana offering shuttle and taxi service to everyone needing short hops within Ljubljana on routes where there is no direct connection but by bus. And a result is 1,000 new jobs all around Slovenia, including rural areas. Every passenger saves 70% of their emissions, and personal car rides are reduced for 20%, therefore reducing traffic on the roads and consequently congestion. So for this project, we are in preparation phase, seeking partners to build more sustainable transportation together. Thank you.
Thank you, Marko. Yes, very interesting to see your development over the last 10 years. And now we are moving to our next speaker, who is Marian Beltran, the Chief Mobility Officer at Nomago company. So we are going from vans to even a larger type of transportation, meaning buses, but they are not only offering mobility as a service with buses, but they are also having the complete multimodal strategy, portfolio, and offering. So, Mr. Marian, the stage is yours.
Yes, hello. Thank you for this introduction. As said, okay. I would like to start shortly with a presentation of Nomago, who we are and what we do for all those who don't know Nomago. Nomago is basically a 90-year-old bus company on one side, a 20-year-old plus travel company, and we kind of merged around 13 companies in the past years, and roughly 3 years ago, Nomago was born. So Nomago is a 3-year-old mobility startup with more than 1,000 employees. Our main focus is moving people in any way. So we believe that public transportation, is the backbone of any integrated mobility in the future in a smart city. And smarter cities, are the key to sustainable mobility. And of course, sustainable mobility, in our opinion, is crucial for Slovenia becoming net zero emission country, thus realizing our common vision, Slovenia Green. To achieve this vision, we need to change the culture. This is of utmost important to us, and we need to change the way we move, we work, we play on a daily basis. And mobility is the key, and digitalization is the mean to achieve that. We need to aim to change daily mobility patterns, daily travel behaviors. And that said, it is only natural that we are on a long-term path, we as Nomago, from a bus or travel company to becoming an IT mobility company. However, on this path, we will only succeed if including other stakeholders and joining forces with other companies rather than competing. So the goal must be common. We focus ourselves on a 50-to-1 initiative, which aims to remove 30 or 50 cars from the roads by putting commuters on buses, basically bettering their time spent on the road and optimizing current infrastructure, achieving less pollution, congestions, also parking problems. Basically all the mass that a single rider in a car, whether being a diesel, hybrid, electric, shared, autonomous, brings with basically being used on a car. So our future stands within the next mobility pillars, from basically connected mobility on one side to shared, on-demand, and intermodal mobility. And finally, all leading to the holy grail of autonomous vehicles, which technology is promising to provide optimal results for basically for everybody, for companies, municipalities, users, and finally also the environment. In short, I'll present 3 pillars of development we at Nomago are currently working on. So this is intercity, charter, and micromobility. We envision mobility as a platform in our key sectors and within 3 stages. So intercity and charter, SaaS, so software as a service, as an operating system for bus operators in their operational stage, middleware as support, and marketplace as marketplace connectivity as the business-driven front side of the customer acquisition stage. So all these 3 stages together are supporting and making the user journey and experience unique. Our intercity operating system is a system for bus fleet managers that allows backend digitalization of a bus company or any similar operator. It could be a ferry operator, for example, or similar. So from lines, timetables, bus mapping on one side, to app and driver and web sales on the other side. This is all included in the platform. And of course, not forgetting the on-the-move customer support, which is for us key because we always look at the customer and user in the center. And we offer experience like bus tardiness tracking, bus location tracking, etc., etc. All this powered, of course, by data analytics per route, per city pair, dynamic pricing is included. And finally, we don't forget about the experience measurement with driver ratings and gamifications. Nomago Charter Platform is the next development on our side. Is basically aiming to provide similar tools as Intercity does for scheduled transport for charter operators. So Nomago Charter is basically aiming at the charter operators worldwide. So we offer optimizing planning of resources like fleets and human resources optimization, which is crucial for anybody who's now working in mobility sector in Europe and worldwide, to optimizing empty legs, etc. And on the other side, we are basically personalizing and automating. We're automating seamless booking experience, basically in a sector that has never been digitalized yet. So this is from what we've seen in our experience in the world. And it's a unique platform worldwide, I would guess. Basically, we built from scratch from our own pain points. And as a leading charter provider in the country and in the area, we're using our domain knowledge, and this domain knowledge is paired with the IT experience, and the IT supported something that we needed to develop for ourselves to basically to survive for the next stage. On our future development pillars is also micromobility. Our vision, our core vision for micromobility is smart and hybrid bike sharing systems based on multiple bike platforms and providers. So we want to join together with everybody who offers micromobility in an area. So what is our goal here is basically maximizing availability and usability of a bike or any other means of transport, like could be a scooter or a car shared, for example, in order to basically maximize the satisfaction of the user. So again, the user is in the center of our thoughts, yeah, always. Due to the fact, yeah, that we are a bus company, yeah, we believe that mobility without mobility hubs has very limited future. As we own 20 plus legacy bus stations, basically across the country, we see the need of transforming all that, let's say, old buildings in a super great locations to a modern mobility hubs with software and spatial planning and a spatial approach for seamless integration of different services, different products, of course, again, with the user in the center of the planning. Due to the fact that we have, as I mentioned in the beginning, that is why it's important, merged around 13 companies, and this is still ongoing. Each of those companies brought with them some legacy, yeah? And seeing that, we are aware of the lack of automation in several touch points, from sales to user experience to operations. All that history and transformation we had to go through, or we're still going through, because it's a really, really long term and in some occasions painful process that we are basically acing. It made us discover that we believe platformization is the key to a sound mobility environment. Mobility is the future, and in the future, we'll have to be based on sustainable data-driven platforms. And they will only long-term work if used hand in hand together with multiple different stakeholders, providing mobility in an environment, as we believe that mobility will be a winner and will be successful in the future only if everybody in this area or in this sector will join hands and have the user in the center of their focus. So we have started our technology ventures from this belief, and we aim to provide best platforms to support future integration and to achieve full mobility integration to a coherent mobility system. This is basically what we're striving to, and this is why I believe, and we believe at Nomago, we are going to become an IT mobility company. And I would like to thank you for your time and welcome you all to come along on this future of mobility with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian, for sharing your transformation, from bus company to IT mobility company. So our next speaker is coming from more than 100 years old organization. And basically they are Automotive Association of Slovenia. Mr. Janez Križan, who is Business Development Officer and Chief Innovation Officer at Automotive Association of Slovenia. And basically they are transforming themselves from road assistants to mobility integrators. So please share with us your presentation.
So thank you, Daniel, for your kind words. Let's go a bit through how we at Automotive and Motorcycle Association of Slovenia see the future of mobility. I believe that we don't need to stress out much on how important or kind of strategic priority sustainability has become for a variety of industries that we are part of. Climate change and environmental degradation are definitely something that we need to put our focus on. But just talking about it and seeing what the European Commission and European Union would like to see in the next 5, 10, or 15 years, the result of this kind of expectation is usually a highly repressive regulation, which we don't like, because in practice that means just paying more taxes. That's one part of the story. But in the other part of the story, when you are under a pressure of making your business more sustainable, you definitely have two options. Either you go with the flow, basically wait for the industry to change and follow it, or you are the one in the driver's seat and trying to make the change yourself, or at least support making the change in the future. We had a lot of discussion about this in AMZS, and we decided to go the way where we are the ones making the change. That's why we started a small project. It's called NOMO, which stands short for New Mobility. And we defined some objectives of how we would like to influence the future of mobility, especially in Slovenia, from this point of view. So the main objectives are basically two. We want to change the habit So make a change and help improve air quality in urban areas. We need to understand that 1/3 of all air pollutants in Slovenia, according to the last available data, originates from traffic. So we have huge room for improvement. And we want to be those who will help make the change in improving that particular KPI. The second one, of course, is that we would like to use innovative communication approach, on one hand, to raise awareness, but on the long run, to change the habits that users have on how they use the day-to-day mobility. And this is not easy. It takes 66 days of continuous repetition of an activity for it to become automatic, but it takes 254 days for this activity to become subconscious. So changing a habit, it's not just writing a good article or repeating the same story every 3 months, but it's a continuous work with each and every individual that we need to deal for, well, let's say almost a year in particular. So you might be asking what actually then NOMO is. NOMO is basically nothing more but a solution to the day-to-day mobility needs of an individual. So it's a free, intuitive, user-friendly service that on one hand efficiently meets the daily mobility needs, while on the other hand, we also help save money, time, and of course, taking care of the reduction of the user's carbon footprint. The solution itself is basically based on the concept of mobility as a service. It places user in the center of the mobility services, and it offers the customer, of course, the solution or a combination of solutions based on their individual needs. This is how we encourage users to use more sustainable mobility solutions on one hand, but what is more important, also important, is that we proactively interact with them and actually raise awareness on short term and this helps us make change the mindset on the long run. For the end user, NOMO is available to users, will be available to the users in form of mobile application that can be installed on all mobile devices. It's completely free of charge, of course, with the exception of the services that the customers would like to use, such as bicycle rent, e-car rent, or similar. From the perspective of the integration, the platform is completely open for integration of any kind of services, of any mobility service providers, such as cars, bicycle, bus, carpooling, train, and other services, regardless of who the provider is, as long as they're capable and willing for the integration. We also enable review and access of existing bus, train, and other similar schedules. Service reservation integration is possible. Of course, we provision payment services, and we can provision the mobility service specifics, such as unlocking the bike, car, and putting it back to the lock mode after it has been used. From the integration perspective, the business model currently stands in a position that there are also no integration costs for the service providers, just the costs that originate from potential integration needs on the side of the provider. But to be a bit more practical, let's take a look at the short demo video. So as said, it's intuitive and really easy to use solution, which on one hand allows user to set its own preferences on which kind of mobility services he or she would like to use. But while on the other hand, we also collect preferences on what is important to the customer: cost, carbon footprint, time, convenience, and similar. As mentioned before, NOMO actually puts customer in the center of the mobility by providing insights of the available mobility resources that are integrated in the platform, such as bike sharing platforms or e-scooter platforms. But these are not most common ways that we use mobility on a daily basis, because our goal is basically to get from point A to point B. And what we provide is basically a seamless and easy to use route planning platform that combines all available mobility services around you, and based on the preferences the customer chose, also enable the provisioning and usage of it. Such as in this particular case, the customer selected to use the e-scooter, and we're currently working on the integration on, first of all, how to provision it in money, but second of all, also on how to provision it by unlocking it and locking it after it has been used. These, of course, are individual integration which come with some complexity, but more and more providers are willing to join the platform because we don't touch the value chain of it. The second part of the story is that we need to understand that mobility does not happen only in a particular city, but it also happens between cities or in the whole Slovenia. In this particular case, we are seeing the use of multimodal mobility between Ljubljana and Maribor, where a customer is offered to walk, then to drive a public transportation to the train station, use the train to get to Maribor, and then another bus to get to the end location, including some walking. What we can provide to all service providers is, of course, the integration of any kind of provisioning services, not only for purchasing tickets, but also for the needs of ticket validation and similar. And of course, in the future, we plan to offer to the customers combined and safe preferences. Each multimodal route is calculated upon the preferences that the customer has, but at the same time, we also calculate the carbon footprint, the cost relevance, and the time used for each and individual trip that the user has done, which means that we have a cool reporting dashboard or data in place that can be used once the regulation gets a bit stricter, and individuals and companies might need to do this in a different way. But you may ask yourself, what are we actually trying to achieve? Our goal is that after the project goes live, we expect that in 5 years' time, following results of the project implementation will pop out. We believe that we can influence approximately 30% reduction of mobility-related air pollutants per engaged user. We believe that we can raise awareness of approximately 50% of the general public of the topics of sustainable mobility. And definitely, we believe that we can change at least 10% of behavior compared to the baseline, moving customers more in a way of using sustainable mobility services. As an end, I would like to outpoint again, the platform is completely open and we welcome all service providers to integrate. It's completely free of charge as per users, as per those who are willing to integrate, because the only thing that we would like to achieve at the end is to meet the customer's need. And they expressed it about 12 months ago in the international research that was done. They demand a simple, seamless solution that will resolve all their mobility needs in one place, quick, efficiently, without needing to have 25 different applications on their mobile phone and deal with a variety of invoices, purchases, and similar. This is what customers need, and the positive impacts on the environment is actually the outcome of a mass usage of it. So that will be in short all from our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Janez, for your presentation. And now we will start with the roundtable. So all guests and audience, you are invited to ask questions via chat, and I will try, to find the appropriate panelist and ask them the question on your behalf. So in this roundtable, we will talk, of course, about mobility as a service. And first question will go to Janez Križan, who is not over yet. So I will start Janez immediately. So the question goes for mobility as a service usually starts in cities. But what about outside city, about regional, maybe mobility as a service? Or in Slovenia, we also have the concept of smart villages, so in rural areas. So how you, as the Automotive Association of Slovenia, will tackle this challenge?
Thank you, Daniel. This is a really, really good question. The point of MOMO as a project and the solution is that this is not a solution that can be used only in municipalities, cities, and similar. We actually digitalized the entire country, which means that the service with available mobility service providers can be used wherever. So it's not micro-mobile mobility for the city of Ljubljana, Maribor, and similar, but it can be used in smaller municipalities, either individually, but what is most important, at the same time, it can be used also where people travel to another location. You just have one solution and you have access to everything. Because those of us that use mobility on a daily basis, we use it primarily to get to work and back, and to spend weekend with our friends, family in some nice part of our country, which means that we cannot stick only with local, but we need to look a bit more global. For the figure of speech, currently global means Slovenia, but definitely if there are needs, we can digitalize any country and spread it out through the entire Europe if needed.
Great. I have just a short question from the audience related to you, Janez. So the question goes, in Slovenia, we are using prevozi.org. So for our audience, this is web-based, crowdsourcing, or where people are agreeing on to join the trip, around Slovenia and also internationally, globally. So Janez, the question goes, is it possible also to integrate such web-based platform as a prevozi.org to your platform?
I don't see any reason why not, because we don't stick only with mobility providers. This is for sure. What we also plan in the future and what we are completely open to is we would like to see parking service providers also to join the platform, because parking is a part of mobility, like it or not. It's the same with the, let's say, EV charging infrastructure. The only thing that we as AMZS, as an integrator of all mobility services, would like to achieve is to basically combine all the services for the customer's needs in one place. And the customer is the one choosing the best way of getting from point B.
Great. So the next question will go to Matej Čer. So Matej, like we saw in the presentation, you are the pioneer of shared and electric mobility in Slovenia and in the region. So, and we saw the development over the past 5 years, but in next 5 years, where do you see that mobility as a service evolve in your company and in general in Slovenia? So your prediction.
I will use one quote, human beings are designed to learn. Once I can see now with the existing mobility service solutions, I can say 90% of people who start to use it, they retain. So in the future, we know there are already many new technologies and solutions on the market which are not commercialized yet, but as soon they will. I see ownership in the similar way of the car as today we have horses. So for luxury purposes, and mobility service is going to be probably mainstream, and owning assets probably within 5 to 10 years will become obsolete. So that's my vision. So what regarding our development, our vision is in 5 years to be in at least 10 countries and further developing business models and stronger position in the region.
Great, thank you. So next question will go for Klemen. So Klemen, in your presentation, you highlighted, how micromobility offering can be specifically tailor-made, to the tourism and hospitality. And we would like to learn, what were the drivers that you focus on the niche market tourism?
Basically, good half a year ago, we did quite extensive research of competition, looking for a blue ocean finding an area that nobody does at all. And this is the reason we went into the area there is the least competition, and combined with some smart solutions and an innovative solution, especially doing virtual stops, taking no real infrastructure for setting up a spot. So basically, we can use this software as a service. We can deploy this software as a service quite easily with no big infrastructure projects. We see from e-bike stations how complicated it can be to set up only a small town for this e-mobility stations. So this is the reason, basically, no competition at this moment at all on this area, and making it profitable for our clients. Because it's usually now when you leave the guest, when your guest leaves the hotel, you lose your revenue stream, and we want to keep their guests on their revenues until they come back to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yes, great. So Marko Guček, I would ask you a question from the audience, and the question goes that some studies show that MaaS, mobility as a service, works and is profitable only in high density areas with high quality public transport as a backbone. And since you operate mainly outside, the cities, so and we know that there are some barriers in Slovenia. So what is your view, how to overcome it? So how to make, mobility as a service profitable also outside, large urban areas like cities?
Yeah, we actually proved it that it can be profitable actually on really less traveled routes. So we don't operate only like on Ljubljana, Venice, which is a bit more frequent, but we operate also with Zagreb, Trieste, connecting even before COVID, Rijeka, Pula, Graz, Vienna also now. So we have really, and also in Italy we have even more connections which are really in a way less traveled, but dynamic pricing just works in the way that then in some cases it increases the price, but still the average price is good enough that it's still some people book it and still the carriers are profitable. The logic we created actually can work. Of course, when connecting to airports, we always had this plus of people pre-booking because they pre-book the flight tickets, so it's much easier for our algorithms to work. And also people still have to pay a lot for the parking, and this is something that it's not so strong in the intercity or daily movements, shorter routes. So this is for sure something that we still have to learn. But yeah, I believe that based on all the market research that we're doing, based on what actually people want to experience, we see that there is space for us, and then just which would be the right price balance to have it profitable for the long term. But the great part of the shuttle business, it's a van, so it's small. You can have high occupancy quite fast, and therefore also profitability easier to reach than with a bus.
Great. So the next question from the audience, I will ask Marian Beltran to answer. So the question goes like, many new micromobility car sharing and ride sharing services aim to reduce the car use. But in reality, many examples show that a lot of people also stop using public transportation. While the impact on congestion is minimal, yes, it's still minimal. So how will you better target your services to avoid those issues? So we know that when Uber started or autonomous mobility, everybody claimed that congestions will disappear, but this is a slow process. So Marian, what are your thoughts about this?
As I mentioned before, I think that the public transport is the backbone. So without that, we will not be able to change any culture or habits, or change the infrastructure problems that we are aware of, that we are not going to move towards net zero emission. I think car sharing should be, and all other sharing, also bike shares and etc. Should be supporting the backbone. So the mass transportation, and also about what Marko is talking about. It should support the long-term, the long-haul drives that need to be put on either a train or a bus. And this is all about what our initiative is all about. We need to put more riders on one bus, or more riders on trains. So we get clean air, we get less parking, we get less basically less cars on a highway or in a city center. So it has to be a combination of everything, and I believe this is a win, and this is the future.
Okay, so next question from our audience goes to all panelists, and I would kindly ask you, it's about your growth strategy: organic, acquisition, joint venture, external investment. So the question goes, the companies here are planning to achieve their expansion plans purely through organic growth, or are you considering also acquisitions, joint venture, external investments to help achieve your goals? So I would start, with Janez.
I think even through presentation, this answer was pretty straightforward, with collaboration, and collaboration.
Great. So we are moving to Matej Čer.
Sorry, would you repeat the question?
Yes, the question goes, it's about growth strategy. So is AVANT CAR planning the growth organically, or are you planning, with acquisitions, joint ventures, fundraising?
We see mobility as a new infrastructure, and infrastructure is a big asset. And as a startup or business developer, we are not financial institution, or so we are looking for sure in the future for strategic partnerships or some venture private equity investments.
Great. So same question for Klemen.
Yeah, we are basically addressing at this moment European, so our neighboring countries, which are in coincidence also big tourism countries. Yeah, of course, our two problem areas are basically supply chain, which is 120 days usually for our vehicles. It can be even longer. We all know conditions, so helping to actually go over this 120 days. Of course, capital is needed, and of course, with big expansion plans, there is a need for strategic investors, especially mainly tourist players in this region.
Okay, great. And Marko, you also already successfully completed the fundraising stage, but what's next? Organic growth or further fundraising?
Yeah, we successfully completed a few times before, but now due to COVID, of course, the situation is different. So we are now back on this organic, slow growth. And yeah, when we will have some results, for sure, fundraising is one of the options, or of course, strategic investor, or of course, in the end, I think the key is collaboration, like Janez said, and we all repeated, and then in what way we will collaborate. Is it also in financial? Of course, we are completely open to various options.
Great. So Marian, I think that you, Nomago, already consolidated 13 companies.
Yes.
So what in the future we can expect from Nomago? organic growth or more acquisitions, joint ventures?
As you mentioned, yeah, we merged quite a lot of companies in the past. So yeah, acquisition and basically mergers is our let's say the pillar or the beginning of what we are now. And I think without that we wouldn't be the key player now. You know, without that we would not be sitting here talking about the future, talking about the software development, because you know we took the best out of every company, and we you know created a new vision. We and with this, you know, in mind, Nomago was basically built. And of course, the future, in our opinion, is divided in several ways. You know, first we see us between Venice and Dubrovnik. So yeah, of course, there's a lot of space for acquisition and mergers here, and this is definitely what we're looking at. We need to, you know, put several basically smaller players in under one umbrella, because you know there's competition coming in which is much bigger than we are, and I guess that's just the way that you need to go forward. But on the other side, you know, if we look at the user in the center, yeah, collaboration, as Janez said, and I think everybody here is supporting that, is definitely needed, because everyone, you know, just having one part of the mobility covered will not succeed. And we are also, you know, for sure not gonna develop or go into acquisition on every single sector of mobility. We have to be aware that mobility is also walking. So I don't know how we can acquire that one, you know, but okay, you know, I think it has to be a mix of everything. Also, strategic partnerships are definitely key to you know, to going forward. But you know, finally, I think user has to be the winner, and we need to all together support that in order to, you know, do the goals that we have, you know, for the future. So zero net emission, that has to be the focus of everybody, you know. And mobility is a huge polluter at the end, you know, so it's important, I think.
Great. So we have 3 more questions. So the next one is basically, and it's already answered partially, and maybe I will just comment it quickly so that we, because the time is flying really fast today, and the conversation here is very inspiring and insightful. So the time is really flying really quickly. So the question goes, as all of the talkers are IT companies selling their platform, how do you see the option of cooperations? So it was already shared. So many of our panelists are basically integrators or solution or system or IT system providers. So some of them will partner with every player. Some of them will have basically standalone approach. So it was, I believe, already answered in the presentation. So I would like to jump to the next question, which goes to Janez Križan. And the question is, what are currently the main challenges automatization is facing in developing the intermodal platform?
Basically, I think that the biggest challenge at this point in time is that, in particular, I think it's the same on the all markets, but for Slovenia, we can definitely claim this, is the fear of losing the customer and the fear of cooperating with the competition. We did some research and we understand why all similar attempts failed. But they failed because usually one service provider tried to establish a platform that would provide multimodal mobility services. And of course, meeting the first competitor on the market, they don't want to integrate. And this is where we in AMZS have a bit different position, because we don't provide any service. We are just purely and simply a service integrator of all services available out there. And we have an incentivized business model behind, meaning that we provide a level playing field for all the providers while on the other hand, we have only one focus ahead of us. This is meeting customer demands and meeting closing sustainability challenges that I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation.
Super. So we have also a last question, which goes for GoOpti. So for Marko. So are you already using electric vehicles on those regional routes, or are you considering purchasing electric vehicles for your service, among other things, given the existing driving style, like 80 kilometers per hour on the highway stops and lines?
Yeah, we actually have 3. Just 4th one is coming in a few months. Hopefully the next generation, because the first 3 actually were not so useful. Yeah, for these longer distances, which we are covering mostly now, they are not useful yet. So for sure, the technology is not there yet, especially because we are mostly driving on highways. And if we are driving 100 with air condition off, of course, our passengers would complain really strongly. So we have them, we were testing with them, we still do some short rides with them. So we're trying as much as possible to use them. And I hope now this next generation will be more useful, but more or less, yeah, we have them prepared for the shorter routes.
Okay, so my last question will go for Klemen, Marian, and Matej. So in one sentence, can you share with our audience how to make mobility as a service as a first choice for moving from A to B? So Klemen, maybe I will start with you.
I think multimodality, having all options in either platform, since it can be integrated quite quickly.
Great, Marian.
As I mentioned before, we believe in platformization. So platform is the key, and and digital support of that, basically changing the old ways of thinking about mobility towards basically platformizing it and digitalizing it, and that could be the key to integrating further to MaaS.
Great, Matej.
Okay, from the humankind, from this side, I think the education is the key. So it's clear that there is no other smart answer than if you have already all the facts about the costs, about the pollution, about the losing time, focus, etc. It's the only education and providing the tests with such solutions we already heard today.
I think those 3 answers were amazing. If we would agree in advance, we would not think about this. So great. So we have multimodality, platforms, and education. So with that, I would like really to close our today's roundtable. I would really like to thank all the panelists for your contribution. It was very, very insightful and inspiring. And I'm really looking forward and wish you all success, in your future journey, because mobility as a service just started. It is, for me, the biggest disruption in automotive space in last 100 years. And this will be with us for next 100 years. So thank you. And with that, I would like to close this roundtable, and I would like to share only 2 things as a closing remarks. And basically, first thing is that Slovenia is leading the EU presidency. And for that purpose, in Ljubljana, there is also a new showroom opened. And next week from 12 to 16, you can visit it, because there will be some providers, especially hardware, let's call it like that, hardware and some software providers of mobility ecosystem in Slovenia present, and you can visit them from 9 to 6 every day during working days. And the second thing is invitation to Expo Dubai. Slovenia will have a pavilion, and we will share many stories starting with 1st of October and being there for 6 months. So if you are in the neighborhood in Dubai, please visit us and we can, have the conversation. So with that, I would like to thank the Spirit Slovenia for organizing this event and basically sharing with the world what Slovenia can offer. And with that, I would like to thank you, and I would like to wish you a lovely day. Thank you and goodbye.